I look at my to-do list and say, okay, what is the one thing, not three things, whatever, what's the one thing that if I get it done today creates the greatest leverage in my business? I look at everything as those levers. What lever can I pull today to push me closer to my compelling future? And that's the task I look at.
Welcome back to Mirror Talk Soulful Conversations. Today's guest is a man whose journey reflects purpose, innovation, and a powerful commitment to service. He is not just a successful serial entrepreneur, he is a visionary in shaping how we understand and engage with financial freedom. He is on a mission to empower the next generation with the tools to build wealth and, most importantly, peace of mind. Welcome to the show, Jason. How are you doing?
I am doing amazing, Jay Taylor. Great to see you. Very thankful to be here and thankful to all the listeners taking the time out of their busy day to just find a little way to better themselves a little bit. So we're excited about that.
Awesome. I'm looking so much forward to learning so much from you, from your journey, Jason. I mean, I'm looking for some tools to improve my financial life, basically, and, and gain more peace of mind when it even comes to money and
Of
using the
course.
new technology out there.
Of course. Of
But
course.
before we go into everything that I would like to ask you, I'd just like us to get to know you better and by playing a game of wildcards, which you agreed to do.
Of
So
course.
are you ready for the first question?
I'm excited about this. I'm ready. Shuffle it really good.
Yeah, I'm shuffling it right now so that I can pick a very juicy question.
There
From my experience, some of the icebreaker questions are very deep. Oh, okay. The first question, which is the icebreakers question, is who is a person that uplifts your spirit?
The person that uplifts my spirits is my wife, first and foremost. I'm telling you, when you are joined together with the right person who, when things are great, they're by your side. When things are bad, they're still arm in arm with you along that journey is just phenomenal. And to take it even a step further, who even prepared me for that relationship would be my own parents, right? Growing up in a home that had a healthy marriage and everything else, and seeing how they worked together really kind of helped propel into our future success from that, and truly uplifts spirits, even when we're all allowed to have a bad day every now and then, and have
Yeah,
someone by your side who knows you well enough to say, "Hey, Jason, you're not being you. Tell me the truth. What's really happening?" And work through it together. That's a powerful thing.
I believe that having the right partner by your side to pull you through whatever situation in life really uplifts your spirit. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing that. I love that.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Are you ready for this second question?
I'm ready for it.
The question is, what is a memory you never want to let go of?
So we'll probably get into it, and this might even be a good segue into the story. I know we're here talking about financial freedom and everything else, but our first business that we made an exit from was actually in aviation, believe it or not. And that memory is when I was 5 years old we grew up very, very poor. When we first moved to Florida, we lived in a motel. We were very, very poor. So my parents couldn't afford to send me to summer camps or babysitters. So my grandmother would watch me while my parents would work. And my grandmother would take me to our local airport. We would park right by the fence at the end of the runway. We'd sit on the hood of her car and we would watch the airplanes take off and land every single day. We'd eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and watch airplanes take off and land. And to this day, I still love airplanes. I still love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Right?
That's so
It's
sweet.
just, it's so fun though to like that launched into a whole career. My wife and I made such a good living, and we'll get to the whole story of aviation, but it started with that excitement of hanging out with grandma and just watching these airplanes take off and land. It was just such a blessing to experience that
Yeah,
and then trace back that passion to those moments when most people would have said, we're too poor to do anything fun. My grandma said, no, no, no. We can find things that are free to do for fun. And that's what started it all.
I love that so much. I can imagine right now, you maybe in the future soon having like a restaurant where you serve peanut and butter and jelly and then close to the airport and people could sit
Right,
down
right.
there and eat
Yeah,
their peanuts and butter or PJ
yeah.
uh, and just watch
You're
planes fly or take
you're
off on
exactly right.
land.
You're exactly right. I love that.
That
It's
would be
good stuff,
sweet.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's good.
Wow. We'll talk about that in details, but I would like to ask you the last
Of
question
course.
before we
Of course.
go into that. So the last question from our wild card is, when asked how you are, how often do you answer truthfully?
Um, wow, that's a really good question. And it is, I always operate from the principle of if I'm not up, I'm getting up.
Okay.
And I also believe words are seeds. So let me
Yes.
answer the question. I probably don't always answer as truthfully as I could.
Mm.
If I'm having a, but I also believe if I'm having a bad day, I'm not going to go, today is the worst day ever. I can't believe this, and just keep wallowing in my sorrows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You ask me how I'm doing, I'm saying, you know what? I'm not up, but I'm getting up. I'm dusting myself off, and I'm gonna make this thing happen, right? And sometimes I believe you have to speak those things into existence as well. Now you can't be so optimistic that it's a blockage, right? Tony Robbins always says you can't look at your garden and say there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. Sometimes you got to get in there and pull the weeds out, right? You can't just do it all the time. So there has to be a balance, and I would say 80% of the time, I'm fully truthful about how I'm doing. It also depends on the person. You meet someone off the street versus my mom asks me how I'm doing or my wife asks me how I'm doing. They're very different answers.
That's true. Yeah. You're totally right. I mean, it depends on the person that's asking. And I think I have the similar mindset to you. I always say my standard answer is always I am fine. And I was thinking about this some days ago. Actually, I was telling myself, I was asking myself if it was actually true that I'm always fine. Then I said, yeah, I think I'm always fine. Actually, I mean, regardless of what I'm going through, I'm still fine. I'm going through something, but I, as a person, Toby is fine. But some things are not going fine. But that's not me. That's I am fine.
Understood. Understood. Yeah, I like that. I like that philosophy.
But I don't know if I'm just trying to justify my answer, my standard answer, but I just have that mindset that I might be going through the worst scenario or worst case, but as a person, I'm fine and I will pull through
Yes.
and I'll still be fine, basically.
I like that. I like that.
Awesome.
That's good.
So, I mean, I would like us to go back to the second question because you're already talking about that already. What you were doing before you moved into your new business right now. I mean, you've experienced both the adrenaline of flying and the challenge of building businesses from the ground up, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you. So, can you first of all talk to us about freedom? Like, when you think about freedom, what does it truly mean to you?
Yeah. Freedom is the ability to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. People always say, I want to be rich. What does it mean to be rich? What does it mean to be free? Right? Everybody has their own definition. And I've been caught in this trap. I'm not going to lie. Like I've been caught in the trap of chasing riches. And that's a dead end path, right? You're just chasing dollars in a bank account. And that's not really what brings happiness. We have three children, soon to be four children, and we're done after that. Four kids is more than enough. They don't make cars much bigger. We're going to buy a school bus at this point. We're coming up four kids and we're done. Our oldest is 10, and we homeschool. And I love when I work from home and my daughter brings her schoolwork and says, Dad, I need help with this. And I can stop doing what I'm doing and go help her. Or when my son comes and says, Hey, Dad, can you go play army men with me or throw the football or whatever? And I can say, Stop what I'm doing. Say, Yeah, I can go. Like that to me is freedom. Now, there are people that have millions of dollars in the bank and are not free because they can't get away from their desk. They can't go throw the football or play soccer with their son. And there's people who don't have that much money, and yet they're always available for their children, for their spouse, for their neighbors, for their friends. Like at the end of the day, I want to create lifestyle businesses that empower us to live a prosperous life, but allow us to do it with the family. In both of our businesses, my wife and I, we work together in both businesses. And that seems strange. It's funny. Both of our parents, my mother and father worked together in a business. Her mother and father worked together in a business. So for us, it just made sense. Like we're going to be business partners and husband and wife and figure it out together. But that enables freedom for us too. When I need to travel to a conference, she comes with me. She's my business partner too, right? Like it's a beautiful thing. It's not this you see on, you know, TV, the husband's always traveling here and the poor wife's stuck at home with the kids. Like I didn't want that. I didn't want that. I wanted something we can all do together. So it's a long way of answering your question. That's what freedom is to us. And it's different for everybody.
That's true. It's very relative. Yeah. Well, you just, made me very curious to ask this question. Sorry to digress a little bit. You
No,
know,
of course.
I've always heard from people that it's not, it's very healthy, or it's better when you separate your business from family or from friends and stuff like that. It's better when you have your own work separately and you're not working with your husband and wife, because you don't want to bring the drama from work into the family and mix it up all together. And, personal interests and business interests should not collide. How do you deal with all of that?
It is tricky. And I understand where that advice comes from. But for like my brother and I growing up, my parents had a pest control business, like killing bugs, spraying and killing bugs, making yards green and killing bugs and stuff. And my mom worked the office. My dad ran the route and killed the bugs. And in the summertime, guess what my brother and I did? We worked with dad and we were in Florida sweating outside, killing spiders and everything else. And like it was literally the entire family working together for a shared mission. In my mission was I wanted to learn to fly. And my father was very smart. He said, "Hey, this bug business is not for you, Jason. You're called to bigger things." And I knew I wanted to learn to fly. So for me, my mission was saving enough money to learn to fly. But we had a combined mission as a family. And even now, working with my wife, our kids aren't old enough to work in the business just yet, but they love with the new app we just launched, being the bug testers, we call them. Now I'm talking about software bugs, not spiders.
Yeah.
But I love handing them the app and saying, "Hey, go buy Apple stock." And the 8-year-olds over there trying to do it. And I said, if an 8-year-old can figure out how to buy and sell stock, the app's pretty intuitive, right? Then our 45-year-old demographic can do that. We involve the family, the kids and everything. Do we have moments as husband and wife where there needs to be separation? Yeah. And we speak that out. My wife's name is Magdalena. I'll look at her and I'll say, "Magda, can I just be your husband and not your business partner just for a few hours?" Right. Because we're always wanting to fix things and everything else. And sometimes we have to have those conversations. And you have to build those boundaries as well. But I wouldn't change anything. We sold our last business. And when we started the new one, we went right back to the same thing together, doing it together. And we have our roles. That's a big thing too, Toby. And I don't mean to digress so much into this question, but it's something that many people ask. You have to define your roles and responsibilities. We can't both be the CEO. That's tricky, even if it's just two friends trying to be co-CEOs, right? That's a tricky thing. You have to define your roles. For myself, right? Um, I'm the one who likes to get in there and get my hands dirty and figure stuff out. My wife is so good at vision and details and these sort of things as well. And we work together to complement one another. So we have to know our lane and stay in it as well.
Oh yeah, you have to define your roles and know your lane and stay in it, respecting each other basically in each role. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it takes a level of maturity, I believe, and yeah, you guys seem to be mastering it. That's awesome.
Always improving. How about that?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, always improving. Yeah, we're all work
Yes.
in progress, right? And at the end of the day,
Yes.
that's true.
Yes.
So you talked about flying. So I'd like to learn about that a little bit. So, you helped the father with the bug fighting business, then you went to learn how to fly, then you moved into the flying business, and then you left that to start a business and you sold that to start Moola, basically.
Yeah.
So can you tell me about this journey and transition?
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning. So I was very, very thankful from working with my parents. I was able to save enough money to take flight lessons. And that is what I did from very young. 12 years old was my first flight lesson. I first flew an airplane by myself at 16 years old. Like I got a very early start in aviation. And all this time I thought, Toby, I'm going to be an airline pilot. I just know I'm going to be an airline pilot. I thought that's what I'm going to do. And then I started to meet a lot of airline pilots and they were always gone. They didn't have good relationships with their spouses or with their families because they lived in a hotel for half the month. I said, gosh, I don't want to always be gone. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to be a charter pilot. Like I'm going to fly some wealthy family around in their private jet. I'll be their personal family pilot. And then I met people that do that job. And I'll never forget one day I was golfing with a buddy who flew for a family that had several planes, that owned several car dealerships, very wealthy family. And we were golfing with their pilot, my buddy. And the boss called and said, "Hey, we're going to Wyoming tonight." And my buddy said, "Oh, okay." So he had to call his wife and tell his kids, "I'm not going to be able to make it to baseball tonight because the boss called. I'm going to Wyoming tonight." And he had to leave in the middle of golfing to go get ready for that. I thought, gosh, you're always on call. I don't know if I want that life either. So what I loved doing was teaching. And at the time, I was giving flight instruction, meaning Toby would come to me and we would sit in the airplane. I would teach you how to fly it, and you would pay me for that. And it was good, but I was listening to all these different business books, and this is even before podcasts. This is like on the Sony Walkman, that skipped when you went over a bump. You remember that, right? Like this was like old school stuff. Yeah, exactly. So I was listening to Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and all Les Brown, like all these classics of personal development, and they were all saying the same thing. You have to get leverage in your business. Thinking, how do I get leverage in my business? Like it's Jason and Toby in an airplane, and I can't fit anybody else in the airplane. Like, how do I create leverage? I guess I need to buy more airplanes and more people. I'm thinking, this just sounds expensive. Fuel is expensive, insurance is expensive. How do I figure this out? And one day I went to the beach in Florida. We go to the beach each weekend. It's true what you see on TV. These Floridians always going to the beach, right?
Yeah.
And I saw these guys surfing, and they had these cameras on their surfboards. I'd never seen anything like it before. This is the 2004, 2005 maybe. And I asked them, I said, "What is that?" Oh, they said, "It's called a GoPro." I said, "What's a GoPro? I've never seen one before." They said, "It's awesome. They're waterproof. They're smash proof. They're just this all around." They call it an action camera. And I had an idea. I said, "What if I could take these GoPro cameras and put them on my airplane and pretend Toby's next to me or John or Joe or whoever, and fly the flight lesson like you were there with me, but you're not, and film the entire thing?" So I went up and I bought two GoPro cameras, which were expensive. They're still expensive, but they're really expensive back then when you're 17, 18 years old. And I flew the airplane and I talked like you were with me, Toby. I'd say, "Okay, now we're going to turn left and we're doing this maneuver. And then on this landing, we need to position ourselves here and watch your airspeed and watch your altitude." And I would talk out loud as if you were really there with me. And then I said, "Wow, I wonder if I could sell these." This is like learning to fly, but you're not in the airplane. It's basically an online ground school. So we began to release that, and one person signed up. And you wonder, geez, is this really worth it? Right? It's like when you launch the podcast and you're like, "My mom listened. Thanks, mom." You're like, "Where's everybody else?" And then the next episode, two people listen. The next episode, four people listen. And we began to get these members. We began to releasing this content. I thought, wow, this is how I can create leverage in teaching. This is before people were teaching online courses. I hacked together a WordPress website and just kind of made it work. This is 2006, I guess. Um, and just really figured this thing out of teaching people to fly on the internet. Now, this was just the ground school portion. They still went and actually flew the airplane. But what they would do is they would watch the video the night before, then they'd go to any instructor and actually fly. And they paid me for those videos. And that is really how our first business started, with just an idea and just a test and just one customer. Like, please, if anyone's listening that's a business owner or has an idea, don't be discouraged by one customer or the sloppy product or whatever it is. I was actually just talking to a buddy today who sent me a quote from Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman's the co-founder of LinkedIn. He said, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you launched it too late." And you think, like, how many perfectionists are out there like, "Oh, I've got to get this just right." And like Toby, you could have been like, "Well, I got to get the intro music just right. And I got to get all the big guests and I got to do all," and you would never launch a podcast, right?
That's true.
You're like,
That's true.
I've just got to do it. And if you're And you were probably embarrassed by the first episode. If you go back and listen to your original episodes, just like I go back and watch my original videos, I think,
I just
what
shook
a
my head.
door. Yeah, like what was I thinking? Why did anybody? But if you're not a little embarrassed by your first product, you waited too long to launch it. Like the advice I got is very similar to that. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going.
Mm.
And and think about it. I was teaching people to fly airplanes. You think, what do you mean you don't have to get it right? Like, no, I didn't have to. I had to teach the fundamentals right, but I didn't have to have all the beautiful graphics and music. And I bought a USB microphone and I talked over a PowerPoint slide and put some GoPros in an airplane. Like, it wasn't that fancy. You don't have to make it so perfect. You just have to get it out there. And 16 years later, cutting to the end of the story, you know, I'll humbly say this, we made an 8-figure exit from that business, from an idea that was really very sloppy at the beginning, as it refined over 16 years to be something that a company wanted to purchase. Kind of how I'm leaving a lot of details out in between. We can drill down there, but that's kind of how that goes. That's how any business or podcast or whatever course you want to make goes.
I love that so much. I would like to ask a follow-up question to that. Like, you started with, recording these videos and, yeah, using it to teach people the theory. In the course of over the years before you sold it, before it became very successful, but then like things you had to remove, add, adjust to make it what it was before you sold it.
Yeah. It goes back to that same question that I learned at the very beginning. You have to create leverage in your business. And okay, so I created leverage by putting these video cameras in there, and the business began to grow. But then I began to hit these ceilings, and the same issue happened. I had to create leverage because guess what? I was the guy in the videos. I was the guy editing the videos on iMovie. And, I had no clue what I was doing. I was the scripting the videos. I was the support team answering your emails and answering the phone. I was the one coming up with ideas. I did everything. And I was my own bottleneck at that point.
Yeah.
So I went back to the same idea. How do I create leverage? Well, at this point, I wasn't making a lot of money. I had like 10 customers, right? It's like, I can't even afford to pay myself, but I know I need to hire somebody. So what do I do? Where can I hire that I can get the most bang for my buck? And I thought, well, these videos are what pay the bills right now. If I could create more videos faster, better videos for that matter, I could, in theory, grow faster. So I made the decision to hire somebody to help film and edit the videos. And that was my very first employee. And he was with me through all 16 years of that journey. Believe it or not, I found him on Craigslist, of all places. If you remember Craigslist, I don't think Craigslist exists anymore, but I put an ad on Craigslist of what I was looking for. And he came. It was great because he brought equipment with him. I was filming everything off of, old school cameras. He brought more modern gear to us. And it allowed me to film faster. Now I could film 8 videos, let him go edit them while I'm getting the next 8 ready, scripting them, go film them, and he's constantly editing. And now we had a machine, right? Now we had this marketing machine, this content machine, and that was the right hire. It wasn't support, it wasn't web development, it was just, I still had to do those things, but it freed us up to scale and grow quicker. Whenever you find yourself, whether it's a podcast or a course or a book, whatever your business is, right? You need to ask yourself, how can I create greater leverage in my business? It might even be with your time. Like, I don't wake up and check my email first thing. I know a lot of people do, but honestly, all that lives in your email inbox is fires to put out, probably. This customer's complaining about this. This person needs this, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I look at my to-do list and say, okay, what is the one thing, not 3 things, whatever, what's the one thing that if I get it done today creates the greatest leverage in my business? I look at everything as those levers. What lever can I pull today to push me closer to my compelling future? And that's the task I look at. Yes, I still handle my emails. I still answer Zendesk support tickets and everything else. Like that has to happen. But what's the one thing? For you, Toby, it might be, hey, I'm recording this podcast today. So this is the greatest lever I can pull today. What is it tomorrow? You know that. I don't know that answer. And the listeners know that answer. Like, think of it as leverage and maximizing your time.
I love that so much. I mean, I'm going to keep on asking myself that same question. What lever do you have to pull today to move me closer to my goal in life?
And which is the strongest? There may be two or three things. You have to say, okay, which is the greatest lever? Right? What's the longest lever to give me the most pull? Right? There's other smaller ones, and those can wait till tomorrow or whatever. But what's the biggest one today that I can do? That when you're laying in bed, you go, man, I'm so happy I got that done. That is going to propel me. You may not see the fruit of it today, but you don't see the fruit the day you plant the tree. But I'll see that in 2, 3 years, and I'll think back to that moment, right, of when I made that sacrifice, when I did that thing, whatever that is. That's how you have to look at each and every day. It compounds.
The straight compounds. One day I'm going to wake up and say, "Oh, thank God I had this conversation with Jason." Something like
There you
that.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
Me too. I feel the same way.
So I mean, my follow-up question is going to be, so you sold this business. I mean, so it was a success. You sold it, and there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there. People who think to themselves, okay, in this moment of success and maybe transition, moving to a greater thing, moving to a new adventure, like what questions do you have to ask yourself to guide your next move to get to know what is the next thing for me?
Well, I mean, let's go back to the day to run you through the emotions because it's a wave of emotions. That day was both a happy day and a sad day. It was happy in the sense that, wow, we did it. It was sad in the sense that this is what I did for 16 years, every single day. And unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, because this is important for entrepreneurs to understand, I had tied my identity to that business. And in hindsight, that was wrong. Like Jason was the business and I had become emotionally tied to it. So when we sold, I say it was both happy and sad because of that. But there's something beautiful about reinventing yourself. So when the money hit the bank account and my wife and I, we retired for like 48 hours, and she's looking at me saying, what are we going to do next? Or I just turned 37. At the time I was 36. It was just last year, very recent. My wife's 34. She's saying we're too young. And on top of that, like we believe that when you have a gift, it is your responsibility to share it. And I made the mistake of thinking my gift was aviation. And my wife was so smart. She said, Jason, your gift is teaching. Your gift, you happen to teach aviation, but your actual gift is teaching, taking something so complex and breaking it into plain English. She looked at me and said, over the past 16 years, you have been a steward and really a shepherd to this family's finances because we have been broke, we have been wealthy, and we have rode these waves before. And you have always led our family and set us up for success in our finances. She goes, why don't you teach people how money really works? You've done behind the scenes, you've done a great job for the past 16 years. Everyone knows you as the aviation guy, but I think it's time you teach something different. And Moola was really born out of that, that there is an entire generation that's growing up that doesn't understand how money works. And yet money is a game that everyone is thrown into, yet not everyone is taught the rules. Imagine if you and I sat down to play a board game and I never taught you the rules. I would beat you every time until you figured it out. That's how money is. Really, it's two things. It's health and money. Everyone plays the game of health and plays the game of money, whether they like it or not, and you better learn the rules. Moola was created to help the money side of those rules. So our Moola members, as we call them, yes, we help them invest in stocks and retirement accounts and save and budget and everything else. The core of our business is no different than the aviation business. It is educational videos. It is teaching you how the thing really works. Teaching you, people think the system's rigged against them. It's not if you know the rules, right? So at the end of the day, Moola is an education play. That's how we made that switch was to answer the question is what is the real gift? Don't pigeonhole yourself and just saying I'm the aviation guy or I'm just the podcaster or I'm just good at interviewing people or I'm just good at writing. Well, it doesn't matter. Take your gifts and expand on them from there. That's really the truth of that.
Take your gifts and expand on them. Yeah. I'd like us to talk about Moola already. So, it's the software and app that has a blend of AI automation and financial principles mixed together. Like I'd like you to just explain to listeners out there how it could help them to improve their financial literacy.
That is what we're totally based on, because you can't just give generic financial advice to everybody. Everybody has a unique situation, yet not everybody has the financial situation that can go to a wealth advisor or anything like that. So we have programmed all of that into Moola for you based on your age, your location, your goals, your risk tolerances, how many kids you have, your life. Moola tailors itself to you. It is your personalized, right? Literally banking, investing, advising partner on that journey. It's so fascinating. You'll get people that say, hey, should I rent a house or should I buy a house? Again, I can't give generic advice. It's different for everybody. My wife and I, early in our marriage, we rented for a season until we were able to buy, right? Moolah looks at each person's unique situation and gives the proper advice for their current season in life. And life is just made up of a bunch of seasons. And if you're not ready for the season, just like we as humans, some people get allergies, right? Moolah is there for you when you're in that new season and you've got allergies and you don't know what to do about it. How do I fix this? Most people want to go back to their old season where it's safe and where I don't have allergies and where things feel good. But we're called to go to the next season. We're called to grow. And Moolah is really that tool to help you think bigger, to grow, to prepare, and prepare your whole family for financial success in the future.
So I mean, I'm imagining right now, I just have to put in my details, like maybe age, my occupation, what I do for a living, and maybe my preferences, and then it's generates things I have to invest in. For example, what is the next thing big? What's the next big thing for me to do for my
You're
financial
exact.
freedom?
You're exactly right. It is scoring stocks on your behalf. It is helping you set up a retirement account. In the United States, we have an IRA, an individual retirement account, which is a great tax benefit for saving for retirement. It is your budgeting, your saving, your investing app, really kind of all in the power of your pocket with the AI that you can talk to make those informed decisions. Do I buy a car? Do I lease a car? Do I rent a house? Do I buy a house? And that's different whether you live in New York City or you live in, you know, the middle of nowhere. Those are two very different. New York City is very expensive to live in compared to, say, out in the country, right? So it is tailored to each person individually. The answers you get, the stocks it recommends for you would be different than it recommends for me because we're in different seasons of life.
I just imagine that's it been my financial body basically. Like, tell me what to do,
Okay. So
advise me a
good.
little bit. Yeah, yeah.
It's funny. It's funny you say that. So the full name of the company is actually Moola Copilot. I had to work the aviation phrase in there, but
I
but
see that.
that was really the goal. Like you said, financial buddy. Like it's your co-pilot. Now, at the end of the day, you think in aviation, there's a pilot and there's a co-pilot. The pilot has the final say. The co-pilot is there to help, to assist, to make recommendations, but you can still do what you want. You're the pilot, right? Mola is just the we are the paint on the roads, right? We're like that yellow paint on the roads. I recommend you stay on your in your lane, but you could veer out of it if you do.
If you
But I
want.
recommend you stay there, right?
Yes,
That's what
yes.
it is for you. It's the guardrails.
Awesome. So for international listeners, I mean, is it available everywhere or just in the US? Or how can we
We're
get this?
just in the US right now, but we're working on expanding as well. Looking to expand towards Latin America and the EU here relatively soon. So it's a lot of regulatory things to work through and everything else, but that is on our product roadmap as well. So really excited about that.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it being in the EU so that I could also use it here. That would be awesome.
Yes, love that. Love
Yes.
that.
So, I mean, if you could just give us like some financial advice, like maybe two financial advice, what would those two advices be?
Yeah. Um, I'll relate it to, I love aviation. You'll hear a lot of airplane analogies from me, right?
Yeah.
We all know where we're going, but we often lie about where we really are. Let me explain it further. It's easy to set goals. I want to have $1 million one day. I want to buy a house one day. I want to do these things. We know where we want to go, but on that same map, we lie about where we really are. And that's the problem. You can't get to where you want to go if you lie about, I got credit card debt, I got those student loans, I got all this issue. If you just try to lie about that and forget it's there, you cannot get to your goal. you have to face it and say, hey, I don't like where I'm at on the map right now, but this is where I'm at. But this is where I'm going. This is my compelling future that I'm going to get to. Right. And you have to work through it that way. So the first one would be don't lie about where you really are on the map. You have to have that heart to heart conversation with yourself. The second thing is a bit of advice, um, not just for business owners, but for everybody. And it's from one of my favorite books called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, written in 1937 and still just as relevant here today. And in the book, Napoleon Hill says, in every adversity, there's the seed of a greater advantage. And my wife and I have lived our whole life off that principle. And if you really believe in every adversity, every difficulty, there is the seed of a greater advantage. Now, what is a seed? Well, a seed is nothing. People eat seeds, right? A seed is nothing. You have to plant it in good soil. You've got to water it. You've got to put it out in the springtime. You got to bring it in those cold German winters, right? And then put it back out. You've got to baby it. You have to prune it sometimes. You've got to put it in a bigger pot. It's a seed. So the next time you hit what you think is a wall, or you get the bad news or whatever it is, when you look at it, and this kind of goes back to that second icebreaker question when you ask how you're really doing, right? If you look at every situation and say, okay, this stinks. I don't really like it, but I believe in every adversity, and this is an adversity, there's the seed of a greater advantage. I'm going to find the good in this. It may be small, like a seed, but I'm going to choose to find the good in this, and I'm going to use this as a stepping stone. And you can trace that back to you have plenty of stories, Toby. I have plenty of stories of what looked like a wall was really a blessing, but you had to choose to see it that way, right? The the girlfriend that dumped you, or whatever it is, or the person who told you no, or the job that fired you, or whatever it is, you in the moment it hurt so bad, but now you're like, what a blessing that was. That is, I'm so thankful that happened, even though it hurt back then.
I love that so much. Every stumbling block is a stepping stone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And your first advice also, I mean, it's ringing a bell in my head right now because I find it very, very valid. And that's about, um, be truthful to yourself. Know where you are standing at the moment. And I was just thinking that your app, I mean, Moola could help me with that also, like to tell me straight to my face, Toby, you can't keep on spending money
It
the same
does.
way you're spending because you
It
think
does.
you think you're so rich, but look at your numbers, look at your numbers. Yeah, so not so good.
It does do that. And we've had people complain about it. I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not taking that feature away. Like, you need to know the truth.
Yeah.
So it's good.
I wish that's like a feature where it can also block you from spending some amount of money because you can't afford
Yeah.
it naturally.
Yeah. Hey, dummy, don't do that. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
So, hey, please think twice before you spend that money or something like that. That
Right.
would be so
Right.
nice.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. That's
So
so
for
good.
I mean, I'm thinking about entrepreneurs out there right now, and you're a very successful entrepreneur. I mean, what you do, like, how would you advise them? Sometimes the journey of entrepreneurship could be very lonely, and it could be very, I don't know, you're faced with a lot of uncertainty, basically. Like
Mhm.
you started this app. I mean, initially, I don't know if you knew it was going to be it's going to be a success, or I mean, you just jumped into the uncertainty with the belief or with the hope that it should be something. So how do you deal with all of those? Uncertainty, loneliness, yeah, the darkness that comes with entrepreneurship.
Well, we'll answer it bit by bit. It is a myth that people say it's lonely at the top. Now, it's lonely at the top if you do it all by yourself, but it's not lonely at the top if you take people with you. In my case, I took my wife with me, right? In some cases, she took me too, right? Because we're hand in hand with that. We took some of our team members with us. When we sold, it was also financially advantageous for some of our team as well. It doesn't have to be lonely at the top. It's only lonely at the top if you try to keep everything in. You need to surround yourself with people smarter than you. If you are not in a mastermind group, um, my my wife and I laugh. All our friends have a full head of gray hair. They are all older than us by like 20, 30 years. And that's exactly how I want it to be because there is wisdom in that gray hair. And I got a few of them too coming in a little bit. But there's wisdom in that gray hair. Some of our best friends, exactly. Yeah, some of our best friends, they're in their 60s, they're in their 70s. Many of them are retired from building their big businesses. And that's the kind of people we surround ourselves with. And to that point of you asked, did you know you're going to be successful? I was just having dinner with one of those friends, and I won't share a ton of details, but this man is literally a billionaire. You would never know it if you met him because he's so humble and just such a good person. You would never know he's worth that much money. And we were with some friends, and this gentleman asked him, he said, were you ever scared? Like, you built this big business. Was it ever scary? Did you ever have doubt? And he said, you know what? I always knew I was going to win. Said, was it scary? Sure. Did I have doubt? Sometimes. But I always knew I was going to win. And I was not going to stop until I won. He said, I hit a ton of roadblocks. He goes, I just always believed I would win. I thought, so when we started Moola, right? Did I know anything about other than running my own family's finances to how to build an app, how to do all these things, how to AI was a new technology at the time. I didn't know how to do all these things. I knew I'd figure it out, and I knew how to bring the smart people around me, and I knew we were going to win. And even to this day, we're still working towards that victory every single day.
Yes. That I mean that's belief basically could pull
Yeah,
you through. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. I always know I'm going to win.
I love
Working
it.
towards that. Yes. I love
So
that so
good.
wow. Because I mean, when you when I was asking that question, I was also thinking about how you deal with failure, how you deal with setbacks. Like, what do you do? How do you pull yourself back up after facing some setbacks?
Yeah, that's when it's beautiful to have the people around you
Mm,
to help you through
yeah,
those seasons. But it goes back to that advice we talked about. In every adversity, there's the seed of a greater advantage. You've got to pick yourself up and say, hey, this is not a good spot. I'm not going to lie about where I'm really at, but I'm going to choose to see this as good. And we're going to figure this thing out together. And it's just a season. You got to work through these seasons sometimes. Like failure, you just have to work through it. It shapes you, right? It shapes you. It makes you better and better each and every step. Don't people want to hide from failure? Like, I don't like losing either, but losses happen. I'll tell you a funny story. So we've really ingrained this in our children. And just 2 weeks ago, I was in a big pickleball tournament. Pickleball is like huge here in America right now. It's like a modified version of tennis, if the listeners don't know. I was in this pickleball tournament, and I wasn't doing very good. And Ella, our oldest, who's 10, came over and said, Dad, did you get a medal? I said, no, baby, I didn't do very good. She goes, well, did you get anything? And Gavin, who's 8 years old, looks at her and says, Ella, Dad got perseverance. I said, whoa, this kid is 8 years old and realizes Dad lost, but he got perseverance. I said, man, this kid's going to go places, and he keeps that attitude. So you have to look at it that way, though. Like, when you lose, hey, this is not good, but I got some perseverance. I
yeah.
learned a lesson. I
You
learned
let
a
us.
lesson through all of this.
That's true.
And if our 8-year-old can figure it out, we as adults can figure it out too.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. Just having the right mindset, basically. Yeah.
You're exactly right. You're exactly
Yeah.
right.
Wow. I mean, I'm envisioning right now a world where everyone has the Moola app on their phone, and that will lead to financial freedom, basically.
Mhm.
So, for you, how does that look like? When if you can envision it like a world where everyone achieves financial freedom, what would that world feel like or look like for you?
Excited for it. And I've thought about this a lot. I know I tell a lot of stories. I'm sorry, but I just need 2 more minutes to tell another story.
No problem.
We are in the business of creating financial freedom. Like you said, that's different for everybody.
Mm,
And back in our aviation business, I didn't know what success looked like. I was chasing money, unfortunately. And one day, somebody sent in an email, and the support team came over and said, hey, Jason, I think you need to see this. I said, "Oh, okay, it's weird. I mean, at this point, we're a big company, 30 employees, everything else. It's weird for the support team to tell me I need to come see something." So I went over there, and it was an email that someone wrote and said, Jason, you saved my life today. Okay, that's a compelling subject line. He said, today I was in my airplane. I took off. I got to about 400 feet and my engine quit. And he said, the moment my engine quit, Jason, I heard your voice from your videos when you taught me how to handle the situation. Lower the nose, manage your airspeed, look for the open area. He said, he said, you talked to me the entire way down to where I landed in some farmer's field and had a safe landing, didn't hurt the airplane, didn't hurt any of the farmer's crops. Everything was perfect. You saved my life. I thought, whoa. Like all this time, I'm just trying to help people pass their tests and become pilots. But that's not the business we're really in. We are saving lives. And that changed that business for us that day. And I remember thinking, well, launching Moola, the same thing. I am waiting for the email from the dad that says, hey, Jason, I downloaded the Moola app 2 years ago. My finances were a wreck. And just today, my son came to me and said, hey, Dad, can we throw the football? And it was 2 in the afternoon. And normally I couldn't do that because I had to work so much. But because of you and the Moola app and the things you taught me, I was able to say, hey, I'm done working for the day. I'm going to go be a dad. So to answer your question, what does financial freedom look like? Like, I can't wait for those emails. Like those, just like the "you saved my life" email. Like that is when I'll know. Like you said, we're waiting for a day for Moola to be in everyone's hands. I can't wait for that. That's great. But that email's the email I'm most excited about getting one day. That you change someone's life so they can go be a mom or a dad or a parent, or a son or a daughter helping their parents. Whatever that's what financial freedom really is. Financial freedom is not a number. It is your freedom ticket to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want. That's what it really is.
Not being a slave to money or to work because you have to make money.
You're exactly right. You work because you want to, not because you have to. That's what Moola is trying to create for people.
I hope you get that email very soon. I mean, in the nearest future. Oh, wow. Yes, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. I've learned so much from you from this conversation. I mean, there are more people out there who might want to ask you more questions, who might want to connect with you. I don't know, partner with you already. What's the best way to do this? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Reach out. It's Moola Copilot. You can find us there. Just search us up. You can see some of those instructional videos we were talking about as well on finances, and just send us a DM there. I would love to connect with anybody. We're very passionate about finances, entrepreneurship, business, anything. We're an open book.
Awesome. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show notes of this episode. It has your information. I will encourage everyone out there to copy the link, click on the link, reach out to you, connect with you on all social media platforms, and become financially free, basically, in the way they want to. Yeah. Wow. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. I really appreciate this, and you've opened my eyes to a lot of things that are life changing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much.